Hello and welcome to my channel, Emma Mental Health and Wellness Practitioner. This is a short video that's more about an observation of my blood glucose levels today and this morning, and I hope you find it helpful and interesting in terms of your own blood glucose journey, or dealing with insulin resistance and the different tools we can use to assist and support a better blood glucose balance. I did a short video this morning just when I woke up, and I will add that as well in the shorts. So what was happening yesterday and this weekend, I had a special event yesterday that I'd arranged, and my eating was slightly different compared to usual. I only ate late, so my first meal was probably only at around 11 o'clock or so, but my food intake yesterday was completely different. As I mentioned, I'd had some cake, I did have some protein food that I'd prepared, but because of the event and just the sort of general jolliness of everything, I did have cake, so there was gluten, there was sugar. And what I forgot to mention in the short that I did this morning when I took my blood glucose early before exercising or just upon waking, was that I also had some, we call it MCC in South Africa, so there's a fancy way to pronounce that. So it's not sparkling wine, it's much nicer than sparkling wine, but it's like a champagne. So it was a combination of that, and then obviously some different foods and foods that I would expect to affect my blood glucose. What's interesting to notice, and I think to consider for anybody with insulin resistance or erratic blood glucose or stubborn weight or any of the combinations of this kind of condition, is that even though my last food intake last night would have been earlier than 8 p.m. and when I woke up this morning, I usually wake up at 5 a.m., get ready, and then I usually go to do a nice brisk walk for about 45 minutes or longer, or I swim in the ocean. So this was, say, at about 5:15 or 5:30 that I took my blood glucose, and it was 6.4. So it was more than 10 points higher than my usual early morning. I then wanted to see how it changes after exercise, and I thought I was going to be walking this morning, but I ended up doing a swim. It wasn't great exertion. I probably could have done a little bit more, but the ocean looked beautiful and I felt like a swim. So I swam. I then had a cup of coffee with a little bit of cream, some inulin. And then from there, I went and did my ice bath or my cold water immersion, my deliberate cold exposure. And today was 10 degrees and I stayed in longer than my 15 minutes because the person who was timing me, we started talking and we'd forgotten what was happening. So I stayed in for 17 minutes, which is quite long. And so after coming home, this was now, say, at about 9 o'clock. So more than 12 hours after my last meal, after exercise, after cold immersion, still no food. And I took my blood glucose when I got home, and I know this is the different way around for you, 5.9. So that is still higher than what I would like to be my optimal. I know that coffee does push blood glucose up a little bit, so I would have expected the coffee to definitely have an effect. But this is interesting to notice. And for me, of course, to now consider when my next meal should be, this is the perfect kind of tool to inform that decision. Because if my blood glucose is still on 5.9, even though it's now 9 o'clock or later, and I've done exercise and I've done my cold water immersion, it still wouldn't be great to eat now on top of a 5.9 blood glucose, because that's going to then push it up even more. So I will keep checking in today to see what it's doing. I have now had a second cup of coffee, so it was just something I really felt like after the cold water, and just a little, I suppose, a little comfort after that. My body is not cold. I feel completely fine. All is good. But this is just tracking my blood glucose after a day of not making the optimal food choices. And not that I'm going to get stuck on that. But this might now inform my next long fast. So ideally, I want to now stay without food until this comes down to low fives, typically after having eaten sugary food or cake or something. Now, remember, there's now a store of glucose in the body, so it's not going to deplete very quickly. And because it can take a few hours for this to come down, I probably should consider only eating this evening. But I'll keep you posted. Please follow, please share, and let me know if you're finding this helpful and if this relates to your experience as well. Let me know if you're checking blood glucose levels as well, and how that changes after perhaps exercising, how that changes after coffee, and how that changes after having certain foods. Thank you for watching.